Hi, hello, welcome to the Lunar Lounge, brought to you by Vertex of Abundance. My name is Serene Priestess Gorgeous, also known as the Blosi Baba. I'll be your oracle today. And I was sent here to deliberate the findings over the full moon in Cancer, which most places in the world, it's going to be the 30th of December, 2020. Let us begin. So when the moon is full in Cancer, there is a culmination that has to deal with it's the soul group, but it's the womb that holds life, to be honest. You know, we're in Capricorn right now. So there are elucidations, illuminations of karmic cycles. Typically, it has to deal with incarnational karma, ignorance, illusion, deception, false ascension, false twins. All these things come up during a Cancer full moon. See, the full moon, it manifests something. What is it manifesting from? Capricorn. The sun is in Capricorn, the seed of life that's being planted. The moon brings that intention, wherever the sun is, into fruition. It literally takes the energy from the spiritual and pushes it into the physical. So if the sun is rising in Capricorn every day, karma is being illuminated. Karma, especially in the soul group, in terms of the mother, in terms of the goddess, in terms of the divine feminine, whether it's an awareness or ignorance thereof. Let's go ahead and see what we got going on here. So we can get the camera angle just a little bit better. Maybe, maybe not, we'll see. Okay, well, that seems to be the best we're gonna do. So like I was saying, it is a culmination of some kind. There's a full cycle coming to fruition. And the aspect of the cycle that we need to be aware of is that finally we're able to bring to fruition, that's a word for Cancer, nurture the soul, nurture the emotional conscious, nurture the authentic self, nurture the heart chakra. We're finally able to work on physical things because some spiritual ending has happened, okay? So it is very much a soul group aspect. Finally, the soul group is beginning to work on the manifestation. There is a transformation, a shift, a change, maybe even a disruption. It's more like a final movement towards an equally beneficial, nourishing need exchange. So sometimes it's on an emotional level. There's reunions in the soul group, healings that need to happen. It can be coming into alignment with our authentic self, with our eternal self while we're here in the physical, but also it has to deal with nurturing the aspect of our soul that's incarnated here in the physical. You know, in the subconscious, we're bringing order to chaos. And the order to the chaos is coming because with all that's happened over the lifetimes, over this year, over the, I ascension of our soul, we're beginning to retain and remain on our high ground, but there's a defensiveness that's needed, and it's an inside out kind of thing, meaning if we don't stand for something, we'll fall for anything. And it's taken us some time, most of us, it's taken us some time to begin this slow, steady growth, because there's had to be a lot of shift and change to the soul group, to the people, places, and things around us. So I'm going to keep going until I get Capricorn, and it's not far out. Okay. So this illumination that's happening is there's a final ending. Finally, we're taking a stand via boundaries. Finally, we're moving on in terms of our spiritual beliefs so that we can begin to matriculate, manifest, and matriculate, meaning enumerate, illuminate, and piece through boundaries and standards. Okay. So as the soul group begins to have sometimes a forced change, but shifts, transformations in manifestation, materialization, it's that we're processing a lot of thoughts and feelings about ourselves. And when I say ourselves, me, myself, and I. So about ourselves. We're coming into soul's wisdom because we've been able to reflect within ourselves, reflect upon ourselves, even turn within ourselves and be guided by soul's wisdom. It's taken a long time to get here. So we have the energy that we need. This culmination is going to be of the karma. We're going to have language for the karma. We're going to have language even for any kind of collective evil, and the evil would be specifically to the institutions, people, places, and things with authority over ourselves. Our physical nature, we're going to begin to navigate shifting out of the old beliefs. Sometimes these beliefs were conditioned and programmed. Sometimes these beliefs were evil. Sometimes we were the victim of it's the evil witch bitch spirit, pardon my language. In Vodoun, we call that N-A-N. I call her Madam N. It's the spirit of evil. Now, I gotta illuminate this a little bit. So let me pull an archetype as well. So this specific energy has been ruling the earth since, every year has a theme. So this specific energy has been ruling the earth since about January. And it'll be here until about the equinox. That's the spring equinox. We have here mediator and bully. So instead of, fairness, having a balance between personal and professional life, maybe even negotiating or having a strategy to break free, to provide balance to professional and personal life, it's basically a respect for both sides of an argument. There's entities, energies, people, places, and things that's negotiating with an ulterior motive, hidden agenda, either professionally or personally. A lot of times I get that when somebody's acting for your protection, oftentimes they're like withholding information, or a person with authority over us, a person with authority over us is using their fairness or their moderator or their shot caller or their executive decision or their executive prerogative, whatever it is, over us to harm. The harm is not always intentional, but if it's in the shadow element, it's negative, okay? There's a fear here on the collective. Those who are holding on to their power in a way that is toxic, meaning stolen, meaning having power for the sake of having power because there's some sense of tyranny over the collective, or convincing our own selves or convincing us sometimes other people, places, and things convince us to give our power away, to be in a disproportionate power dynamic, to be in a non-nourishing, beneficial needs exchange, something that's detrimental, something that all the D words, dereliction, destruction, dismissal, distraction, destroy, to deed, separate our material self from our eternal self. So that evil spirit, it's very destructive that I'm talking about. So this is one of those spirits that typically it does lesser magic. So it needs to convince you that you have less power than you do. It needs to convince you that you have to be vengeful. Basically, it's always lowering yourself, getting off. If somebody's trying to take you down, that means they're already beneath you. If you have to get off your throne and go chase and go beg, if you have to get off your throne to complain, to explain, if you have to get off your throne to, assume command, if you have to get off your throne to ask something instead of request something, that's the beginning of this energy. I'm going to give it a name because I recognize it clearly. Whenever you have too many fives in the devil, even if the Hierophant and the devil, that is this Madam N spirit. We don't say her name. And in a lot of different traditions, whenever they say that name, they'll write it, whenever they write that name out, they'll cross it out. It's typically the spirit of disharmony, discord, and it thrives just like actual demons and devils do. So, the lower world, they thrive on like pain and despair. Humans thrive on ego and greed. And then some humans become what's called a love ascended human when they start moving into the ascension spectrum, moving into the higher world. So then those higher devas, I call them Vodoun, but every tradition has a different name. They thrive on pleasure and basically truth, sattvic nature, righteousness, truth, dharma, duty that aligns instead of separates. These spirits, when they get a hold of somebody or when they ride you or when they get into your energy, they cause a lot of destruction. And if you ever fall into trance or you ever start using your energy, whether it's prayer, divination, your actual lachey, it destroys things. Okay. And they thrive in dirty environments. They thrive on low energy. They thrive on people that are toxic, malignant, even just non-pure, whether it's too much junk in their body, not their trunk, too much junk in their body. For instance, some type of illness, some type of cancer even. Other times it could be a overly bad diet, meaning the bad diet has overrun their health system. Any of those things, misbalances and misalignments, that they exploit that and they burst that door wide open. If there's conflict in the environment, the soul, purpose, mission, karma, destiny, or the soul group, many people, places, and things, they exploit that. When there's toxicity, whether it's physical toxicity, spiritual toxicity, mental toxicity, they exploit that. So if there's like mold in your house, if there is illness in your body, if there is karma in a relationship, meaning something needs to be said, a conversation needs to be had, an apology needs to be given, any of those things, this is when that spirit exploits. And the thing about it is, the intention, the purpose here is for us to be distracted, polarized to one side. The spirit thrives when you leave your spiritual energy, meaning the chakras above the heart, and you drop down into the lower chakras. That's the gates of hell. The gates below the heart are the gates of hell. So a lot of times it'll use, Saturn energy, Mars energy, Jupiter energy. So the shadow Jupiter energy is basically the demiurge. The shadow Mars energy is colonizer technology. The shadow Saturn energy is the Satanist technology. So Satanist is anti-life. It's the false mother. They want to make the world inhospitable. Shadow Mars energy, it wants to take power by harm or by removing you from your space. It's like an evil kind of gentrification. And then the shadow demiurge spirit, it's the false father. It's trying to make people displace their personal power. You know, Jupiter is Havioso, Mars is Ogun, Saturn is Sapata. If you're in Orisha, it will be Ogun, Shango, and Babalue. You know, those energies, first of all, you need to be clean, 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 pure, 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 really well fed spiritually, nourished spiritually. You need to be at one within yourself. You need to be coming from a place of being prayed up, making sure that you've been meditating, making sure that you've been, you know, eye on the prize in your spiritual space. The moment you're looking outside yourself for answers, the moment you're comparing yourself to any type of conditioning, any type of programming, any type of onslaught of energy, mother, daddy, teacher, preacher, institution, reliance, religion, science, anything that displaces you from your innate, authentic nature, it makes you look outside of yourself for answers, look outside of yourself for self-worth and value. It begins to degrade your strength, courage, and wisdom. That's when the spirit takes hold. It's going to work on you from the outside in terms of discord, disharmony, dereliction, destruction, degradation. It's going to break you off of your foundation, break you off of your, you know. So that's the thing about the Seven of Wands. If somebody's trying to take you down, it means they're already beneath you. You shouldn't have to look outside of yourself not only to see your own self-worth and value, but you shouldn't look outside of yourself to have to complain or explain or sell your value to a person, place, or thing. Because again, like I said, if they're trying to take you down, they're already beneath you. So why is it that we're being eroded with fungicides, herbicides, pesticides? Why is it that we're being eroded with this onslaught of fake news? The mainstream media is conditioning, programming, collaborating, continuing this conditioning and programming of the masses. What is this global agenda that is painting a picture of fear? And it's like a churning of the lower energies. They need you fearful, they need you vengeful, they need you itching to prove something other than just looking with inside of yourself to find your own innate nature, which typically is your strength, courage, or wisdom. What is your spiritual currency? Faith, hope, creativity, imagination. The moment they get you out of that energy, faith, hope, creativity, imagination, you're giving your energy to lower vibrations. That's when the spirit can take a hold. So for whatever reason, that's what we needed to hear. Because again, so here in ourselves, me, myself, and I, instead of fear of intimate union and that intimate union with the divine, if you're not in love with your eternal self, if you're not in love with yourself, you're taking breadcrumbs from somebody else. So that means you need to maintain symbolic purity of heart and spirit. That's ourselves when we're dealing with ourselves, our own energies, our own space. Because priests, we need to interface the world from a spiritual perspective. So instead of violating trust of our community, especially spiritual community, or seduced by spirituals, we need to be facilitating spiritual commitment, serving as a channel of spiritual energy. So that means we need to make sure that our chalice is clean, our chalice is clear, and we're not taking from the small. Okay, so that we can be a vessel to perceive the phenomena of the universe. You know, 50% of our thoughts, 50% of our feelings are not our own. So they're either coming from or from the other 50%. So if we are not virginal, if we're not priestly, it means we're not working in a spiritual zone. The people, places, the things around us might be lack of cleanliness, lack of serenity, lack of divinity, meaning lack of eternity. Once though we have the lack of those things, those lower energies can thrive. Those lower energies are always out the gate. If you turn on the light, there's always going to be something providing a shadow, unless it's like a clean space. You know, when the sun shines, there's always going to be places where there's the shade, and there's also going to be places where the sun can't get to, mainly underground. Okay, so in the environment surrounding these locations or in the collective, it's the fool. So there's been a lot of denying emotional truth, essentially. We've been conditioned, programmed to ignore those innate things alive in us that make our eternal self, you know, easily accessible. What does that mean? Through wanting to keep up with the Joneses, through wanting to do what Mother, Daddy, Teacher, Preacher told us, through following the indoctrination of the religious books, the science books, the history books, we've lost track of our own authentic nature. So we're using humor to wound rather than to liberate. We're denying our own truth, especially emotional truth, or we're becoming polarized because we're reactive when our emotions, meaning authentic self, tries to communicate something to us. So the trick is to fearlessly revel in emotion, helping our own selves laugh at absurdity, laugh at hypocrisy. And, you know, I was giving this example to somebody recently. I don't quite remember all the circumstances around it because it's not mine. So, of course, it's leaving me. It was just a channel from somebody. And basically, when you're in the heart and you're using the heart as a guide, you don't have a lot of questions, you don't have a lot of fear. When you're in your mind, that's when you perceive all the obstacles, all the reasons that you might not be able to accomplish something. The heart is very clear, the heart is very pure, it knows what it wants. The mind fills in the gaps on how to accomplish that thing. Oftentimes we're looking out into the world and we're not seeing, we're looking. So we're applying labels to everything, mislabeling, misjudging, misperceiving instead of seeking meaning. And oftentimes you can't seek meaning unless you know who you are inside. If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And if you do stand for something and you're receiving a lot of harsh oppositional conflict, Five of Swords, what happens is that's something trying to take you down. So, there's a reason why empaths always attract narcissists. There's a reason why when you're about to have a level up, an upgrade in your life, the devil comes for you. Okay. So as a collective, we are going to begin to purge our union, purge our relationship, purge the beliefs, the indoctrinated beliefs that attached us to this negative timeline, that attached us to this dark cycle. Something is finally over. We're going to begin, or we're beginning to see the manifestation of what it looks like to stand on solid ground according to our own boundaries and standards. And that's what this moon is going to do. It's going to culminate all of the negative agenda. So let's pull this. Okay, we got it. Be still, card number 5. That's the number of Spirit Witch. 5. Because it manipulates the physical dimension, which is 5. We're reading from Nadi Anastasia's Cosmic Activation Cards for the Soul. Card number 5, Be Still, from page number 31. Prayer, Great Spirit, lead me to still waters within myself so that I may find peace. The quote here is, to the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. Right, so they need us reactive, they need us polarized, they need us in a fear place or an entitled place. What they don't want us is an authentic place. They don't want us unifying. They want us believing that we're either under or over something, some other person, place, or thing. Be still, breathe, find that well of tranquility and serenity within you. There are times when life feels chaotic. Circumstances and relationships test and challenge you with conflicting emotions and inner storms. Sometimes your emotions are felt deeply, and you may have moments of outbursts that express pain and inner rage. Feel the emotions and try to understand what has come forth from you. See the origins from which this reaction was born. There will always be triggers, dear one, and storms will pass, but how you react makes all the difference to the severity and the longevity of the storm. Who you are is best seen when you are challenged, pressured, and put to the test. Will you react with rage, spite, and bitterness, or with peace, love, and compassion? If you react with anger and spite, do not be disheartened. Simply see that this is where you are at this time. Be gentle with yourself and go within to explore the deepest recesses of your hidden self. Find the root of why your reactions are so. Send this part of yourself love and compassion and feel the healing light of love spreading through your entire being. Dear one, you are the love, the peace, the tranquility, and serenity that you seek. It is you. Know it. feel it, and be it. Be the peace that others seek. Be the stillness that others crave. Be the compassion that others need. In this stillness, there is clarity and peace. Go forth, dear one, and be that gentle voice that calms the storm. Great Spirit, lead me to still waters within myself so that I may find peace. To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders. So that spirit that I was talking about, Madam N, their children or the people that work with that spirit and that get initiated into that spirit, that spirit only blesses their children when they're binding other beings. And if they're not binding other beings, they typically cause a lot of destruction and get eaten from the inside out. This is not going to be that mean person that looks good when they're old unless they're eating souls. So what's horrible about the spirit is if you die with that spirit having a hold of you, you're typically reborn really easy. You come back really quick and with a lot of burden. So, you know, in my house, of Vodoun Ifa house, we if we see somebody in divination with that spirit, it's almost like a bad cancer. So the first thing we do is clean that spirit very well. And then we starve it. We don't feed it ever. Okay. It's kind of like a parasite. If you feed it, it will eat you. Okay, because it causes a lot of vengeance, it causes a lot of destruction, and it's important that you don't be vengeful. If someone has harmed you, you don't be vengeful. You go and pray for them. If somebody has wounded you, if somebody's launched a spiritual attack against you, you don't be vengeful. You don't be vengeful. You take a spiritual bath, you take 3 spiritual baths, you pray, you go to your altar, and of course, you know, the only time we ever this spirit is very petra, meaning very hot. It's not very raw, but very clean, very cool, very calm. It's very hot. You know, petra energy is good for, you know, defensive magic, protection sometimes even. And we only ever wage war if somebody's already waged it against us. Otherwise, we cool down the energy. We take it from hot to cool. So it's not aggressive. It's not vengeful. It's not biting, you know. And if we're in disharmony, discord with another person, we go to our altars and pray. We pray for them, we pray for their ancestors, we pray for their awakening. So that's the thing, as an ascended being, as a higher being, as an awakened being, as an elevated being, we have to be the ones to hold the space. We have to be the ones to be loving, peaceful, virtuous, serene beings. We must conduct ourselves in humility, serenity, and grace. We must conduct ourselves with dignity, serenity, and grace. There's no other option. The alternative is not good enough. The alternative means to get dragged down to those lower chakras, to those lower energy frequency vibrations, where that Madam N spirit can get a hold on us. This is on the grounds of, you know, okay, so outside of ourselves, and this came back from a previous reading, outside of ourselves, we have communication with the shadow self. And inside of ourselves, we have communication with surrender. This is on the grounds of a sacred journey. So in order to get that sacred spiral upwards, we need to, you know, unsheathe is what I'm hearing. I was going to say slough off those lower shadow natures. Okay. So if we're feeling vengeful, go pray. If we're feeling wounded, go pray. If we're feeling harmed and attacked, go pray. We shouldn't have to prove ourselves to somebody. We shouldn't have to some person, place, or thing. We shouldn't have to go out and fight too hard for what we want. Everything we want should be according to our vibration. So if you want that man, if you want that life plan, if you want that spirit karma destiny, life path, everything you want to accomplish is at a higher vibration. So that's also where the devil gets you, where he interrupts you, because the devils all work for Satan, and Satan means the adversary. Satan is literally the physical body, the first body that the spirit ever incarnated, and it began to disunify, meaning to separate, to cause disharmony. Source unifies. It takes you back to unity, to eternity, to serenity, to divine grace. This other energy, Madam N, it wants to bog you down in soul agreements that you made when you were destructive, typically because some type of vengeance got into you. the need to prove a point, to harm somebody back. And it could be a person, place, or thing. You could have experienced a tragedy, a trauma, and now you're self wounding. You can be holding on to grief, holding on to shame, and this mourning process that you're doing is harmful. That's why people, depending on where illness or sickness is growing in the body, that's the type of wound that you sustain. And instead of moving through, going through it so you can grow through it, you're using it as an obstacle, not a road to your healing. So when you're driving down the road to healing, you do need to, have language, have words, take an inventory of what happened. It's okay to replay something in your mind a couple times, but once you get past half a dozen times, have 50% of that healing solution in there already. Otherwise, it's not an open road. That wound, it's not an open road to healing. It's a block. It's a roadblock to healing. Okay. So it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve you. Thank you for allowing us the privilege and the pleasure to do so. If anything that was said resonates deeply with you, go ahead and check the information in the show notes. Until we read again, until we meet again. Namaste, Dandavad, and Ashe. Bye-bye.